Hello guys, it's Spider-Man No Way Home. Plot summaries. I'm not asking you guys to review any runes, so here's the plot. Granted, they could show in some things, but they're still A in the film. Andrew Zhu is black and gray as the Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 1. And Funai symbiote, it's called the Grieving Suit. The other suit appears as a flashback as well, between the fight between Rhino, which ends with Rhino being pulled into MCU. Andrew finds a way to follow Rhino and fails. Finds that a wizard has somehow escaped imprisonment is being ported to the same portal, basically. And Andrew basically has to go to the MCU and gets trapped in the MCU as the watch he developed to travel completely fizzles out and can't fix it. It's top secret Oscorp storehouse. Basically, he ends up being captured by bad guys. It's around 8 to 10 minutes screen time. The whole section of the movie takes place in the Amazing Spider-Man universe. It's supposed to be like a mini epilogue. This section without hurrying the pace of the movie. The McGuffin movie is amazing version of the time scene from Endgame that Happy explains Dark Industry was working on in case the original one broke down. Doc Ock now can now attract his arm with a metallic backpack. They don't control him as much, but he shows some influence. Doc Ock heals them that Soren and he and Rose never had. His whole motivation is simply go back in time and seeing the creators so he can never live a happy life with Rose. He also ends up in the MCU when he gets pulled into a portal. And ends up in the MCU. There's a sort of him asking everybody where he talks about Oscorp. And so he just brings able to stalk everywhere. And so we figure out that he's in a different universe. He actually mentions that he's shocked to find out Captain America is a real person in the MCU. He actually mentions that he was, there, and was simply a fictional character in his. So most of the existing heroes in the Ramityverse, he wasn't that evil and actually wants to go about to redestruct the fate as purple as well. And yet, he ends up being the leader of the group. Basically, the overflows over and he brings the multiverse villains together and discovers multiversal beings have some readable heat, so that brings them purely together. Of course, Tom ends up in the Doctor Strange area. Strange is masking the presence of him and his friends. Strange is what he discovers, including Andrew. When he makes of it, Goblin calls him a murderer, and Strange forces Tom out as he doesn't want to be talking about villains. Tom steals a string ring and spends several hours trying to use it successfully. Eventually, he does talk to villains, and the foe terrifies Tom. Basically, Goblin's body is almost rotted in a sticky green color. He needs gloves to survive, and Tom tells him he doesn't free. When Free makes him, he won't survive the night. Tom will luckily frees him, but quickly knocks out Spider-Man out and lets all the villains free. Strange wakes Peter and eventually forces him to fix it. Something big is awakening, and he needs to figure out what it is. His face can't be distinct him. So Peter frees Andrew, and the Strange says that Tom needs the third Spider-Man, suggesting that only half the villains seem to come from Andrew's universe. The other three were villains of a different Spider-Man. Tom reviews Tom's suit with magic. Tom goes to the Ramityverse alone and manages to find where Peter Parker lives. And Toby's identity is Spider-Man is public knowledge of this universe. But Toby and MJ are already married as a kid at home with guards to keep them safe. Tom sneaks in, but Toby is already knows he's there and confronts him. They say he's retired as Spider-Man, but he's a kid coming home to stop every villain the city had to offer. He also seems to believe his powers are gone, as he tends to demonstrate for trying to villains through the web, but does try to confuse Tom and everybody else. Everyone hated him despite all the effort to keep the city safe, most likely prior to the Daily Bugle, going there in the movies he had that guy, but he put out on someone that he looked up to and trusted so much. And basically, Toby wishes Tom luck, and Tom tells Toby that his Aunt May says hi and walks home at the door. Toby looks painted up for the 4-year-old message that he said as phone from Aunt May and plays it. She has a speech about how good people must do with every city and how she's dying, but not. And certainly the worst part about the film, it goes on the nose, but it's actually what they're going with. Toby manages to web after racing the message, realizes his powers only rely as motivation to be Spider-Man. Ends up finding Tom before he leaves. So the cool bizarre team of Tom says is bad. Like Obstacle sees himself looking completely alien. Yeah. And the applies looking right here the spider. Peter looks at himself as his whole body has become morphed into the shape of an actual spider. Scene is a super annoying because everybody acts like everything's normal, except for the fact that Earth looks super unnatural and freaky, and people don't look like. The scene gets kind of normal looking people, and Peter enters the building MJ, and then once on turning the spider, he starts warping too. The other has CGI MJ's creepy boy smile, as he watches Peter turn to horrify. No doubt it will be less scary in the final product. Yeah. As far as comes after, it's not outright revealed what's happening. Yeah. So yep, that's basically it about this video. There's also some plot holes here they can read here. Here as well. And that's basically it about this video. Goodbye.